Lick into shape. Dá um jeito.
Do you think you can lick this company into shape? Few people doubt his ability to lick the economy into shape. The president won the election on his promise to lick the economy into shape by overhauling outdated or inefficient legislation. Please try to lick this report into shape by tomorrow morning. I've got about 2 days more to lick this place into shape so I can sell it. I want to lick this house into shape for Saturday night. The garden looks neglected, but Dad will soon lick it into shape. What he really needs is a mentor who will lick him into shape. The drama coach will try to lick her into shape by performance time. A better teacher would have licked him into shape. You'll have 4 months to lick the recruits into shape. We need at least 3 more practices before the team is licked into shape.
Put two and two together. Tirou suas conclusões.
I didn't tell her George had left, but she noticed his car was gone and put 2 and 2 together. You weren't home, so I put 2 and 2 together and went back to your office to find you.
Tirei minhas próprias conclusões.
I think he put 2 and 2 together and realized that John had been stealing from him this whole time. When I saw the articles about the stolen semi-truck and the escaped convict, it didn't take long to put 2 and 2 together. How did you know they were having an affair? I'd seen them out together a couple of times, so I just put 2 and 2 together. Well, I put 2 and 2 together and came up with an idea of who did it. Putting 2 and 2 together, it's not hard to guess who will be chosen for the lead role in the play. It didn't require a great mind to put 2 and 2 together. Putting 2 and 2 together, I assumed that this was the car he used. Don't worry, John won't figure it out. He can't put 2 and 2 together.
Ele não consegue juntar os pauzinhos.
It's not going to be long before the police put 2 and 2 together and come looking for you. People saw them talking and put 2 and 2 together.
School night.
The attack happened at 11 p.m. on a school night.
Em dia de semana. School night.
Surprisingly, for a school night, there were many children in the audience. The company and conversation were relaxed and entertaining, and I didn't even mind being up late on a school night. It was, after all, a school night, and in those days, 9:45 p.m. was the designated bedtime for a 15-year-old. I don't usually stay out this late on a school night. Jamie has to go to bed at 9 o'clock on school nights, but on Friday and Saturday he gets to stay up as late as he wants. The children are in bed by 8 o'clock on school nights. This rule is in addition to the currently standing rule of no scary movies alone at night, especially on a school night. I can't go to the cinema tonight. It's a school night.
Eu não posso ir ao cinema hoje à noite. Amanhã tem aula.
You may want to drop everything and celebrate, but remember, it's a school night.
Amanhã tem aula.
He gives it to her, hoping that she will allow him to go. But she unsurprisingly refuses, since it's a school night. I left the pub at 10, since it was a school night. I didn't mean to drink so much red wine on a school night.
Rub shoulders with rub elbows with.
She's rubbed shoulders with millionaires.
Ela convivia com milionários.
I rub shoulders with John at work. We are good friends.
Eu convivo com John no trabalho.
As a reporter, he gets to rub shoulders with all the big names in politics. These conferences give you a chance to rub shoulders with the heads of the tech industry.
Passar tempo com.
Janice claims that she rubs shoulders with royalty all the time. The awards dinner gave me the opportunity to rub shoulders with some of today's greatest American poets. I don't care to rub elbows with someone who acts like that.
Eu não estou interessado em conviver com alguém que age assim.
He couldn't turn down a chance to rub elbows with the decision makers of his industry. The Sox are bringing outfielder Eloy Jimenez to Chicago to rub elbows with the team. I don't want to go to the gala tonight, but my wife is eager to rub elbows with the upper class. Amateurs are encouraged to rub elbows with professionals at exhibitions, workshops, and seminars. Do you want to join me? Of course. I've always wanted to rub elbows with the rich and the famous.
Speak for oneself. Expressar por si
She
mesma.
needs to speak for herself. I'm not a mind reader. Speaking for myself, I haven't noticed any of the problems that David is bringing up.
Falando por minha conta.
Speaking for myself, I am ready to cancel the contract. Sally is speaking for herself. She is not expressing our opinions. I'm not speaking for me and Jack. I'm speaking for myself. She spoke for herself, not for anyone else. I'm here speaking for myself, not for my company. We just love traveling. Speak for yourself. I think it's exhausting.
Você é que adora.
That idea makes no sense at all. Speak for yourself. I think it's a great idea. We had a really boring trip. Speak for yourself. I had a wonderful time. We're getting old, aren't we? Speak for yourself. A man is as old as he feels. His fantastic record as a manager speaks for itself.
O fantástico histórico dele como gerente já é suficiente.
His actions speak for themselves.
As ações dele já são suficientes.
They haven't called us in months, and that speaks for itself.
Go down the toilet.
They didn't want to see their investment go down the toilet.
Ir por água abaixo.
Appearing on that talk show is usually a sign that your career is already down the toilet.
Já foi por água abaixo.
He never showed up to drive us, and our plans for the evening went down the toilet. After the drug scandal, his career went down the toilet. Your future will not go down the toilet, Mr. Ayala said quietly. I'm starting to feel that my 30 years of work will go down the toilet. Who knows? Maybe in 2 weeks it will go down the toilet. The economy in this country is going down the toilet, announced Amy. If you look at New Jersey, it is going down the toilet. So we thought there was nowhere to move. I can't handle this anymore, and my life is going down the toilet.
A far cry from.
Playing in a comedy is a far cry from playing a criminal in a mystery.
Atuar numa comédia é muito diferente de interpretar um criminoso em um filme misterioso.
This flat is a far cry from the house they had before.
Muito diferente.
It was a far cry from what he had expected.
Isso foi muito diferente do que ele tinha esperado.
The hotel's royal suite is a far cry from the poverty of his home country.
Muito diferente.
Lama's upbringing was a far cry from his current life as an animal rights activist.
Upbringing, educação.
For Mrs. Bullock, 30, her role as a shop manager is a far cry from her previous job as an air hostess. This is the 5th generation of the Sonata. And it is a far cry from the first-generation model I found so tempting. All this luxury was a far cry from the poverty of his childhood. It was a far cry from what her life had been like up until the fire had broken out. It was a far cry from the old way of running schools.
To be better off.
They would be better off in a cheaper apartment.
Eles estariam melhor em um apartamento mais barato.
We'd all be better off if we were in Florida. I know I'd be better off in a warmer climate. I think you'd be better off if you bought a new car and didn't try to repair your old one.
Você estaria melhor.
You would be better off taking the train instead of driving. I felt better off after the rise in stock prices. I know you're unhappy that the relationship ended, but you're better off without him. People in this country are far better off than they were 10 years ago. Obviously, we're better off now that we're both working. He'd be better off working for a bigger company.
On the ball.
I rely on my co-driver to be on the ball.
On the ball, estar atento.
I didn't sleep well last night, and I'm not really on the ball today. This guy is really on the ball.
Ligado, antenado.
If you were on the ball, this wouldn't have happened. Their staff seems to be really on the ball, able to get projects done on time. My brother is always on the ball, so it's hard to trick him or catch him unawares. Sally was on the ball when she noticed the client's boredom and quickly switched her presentation. If you don't get on the ball, you'll be fired.
Se você não ficar ligado, você será demitido.
That was fast. Someone out here was on the ball. The tests show your students don't have much on the ball.
Não, são muito inteligentes.
The new manager has a lot on the ball.
É muito competente.
Both John and Mary have a lot on the ball. They should go far. I think I'd do better in school if I had more on the ball. I learn slowly.
In dire straits. Em maus lençóis.
We are nearly broke and need money for medicine. We are in dire straits.
Nós estamos em maus lençóis.
Officials in Washington say the peace process is in dire straits. He's been out of work for 8 months, and his family is in dire financial straits. I can't believe that the plane is out of fuel, and I'm afraid now that all of the passengers are in dire straits. These kids are in dire straits, and the schools are doing nothing to help them.
Em apuros.
The earthquake and the drought left the region in dire straits for a long time.
Em maus lençóis.
I am totally broke and need help to buy some food for my children. We are in dire straits. I realize they're all in dire straits down there, and they really need a lot of money. But aren't our children more important than their pocketbooks? Last night, everything burned in the factory of a successful businessman. Now he is in dire straits. Well, after all, she's in dire straits at the moment. Homeless, husbandless, and expecting. In that state, you do stupid things.
Sweep somebody off their feet.
You kind of expect to get swept off your feet on Valentine's Day.
Ser conquistada. Você meio que espera ser conquistada no Dia dos Namorados.
You kind of expect to get swept off your feet on Valentine's Day.
Swept off our feet.
She was hoping that some glamorous young Frenchman would come along and sweep her off her feet. He brought me flowers, kissed my hand, and swept me off my feet.
Roubou meu coração.
The first time he met her, he was completely swept off his feet.
Completamente apaixonado.
Now you can come in and sweep her off her feet.
Roubou o coração.
He was hoping to sweep her off her feet, but she just laughed. The young man wanted to sweep the pretty girl off her feet, so he walked up to her and told her she was the most beautiful woman in the world. He is my Italian teacher. He is so nice and kind, and he swept me off my feet when he told me I was the most beautiful student he has ever had. How to sweep a woman off her feet. He sweeps them off their feet, uses them for his own selfish purposes, and then dumps them when he gets tired of them.
Off the record.
An aide told reporters off the record that the senator had been lying.
Assessor disse aos repórteres em off que o senador vinha mentido. Off the record.
She made it clear that her comments were strictly off the record.
Em sigilo.
This is off the record, but I disagree with the mayor on this matter. Although her comments were off the record, the newspaper published them anyway. She claims the newspaper published comments about the incidents that were supposed to be off the record. What he was about to say, he told the reporters, was strictly off the record. The senator told the reporters that his remarks were strictly off the record. They think they can just tear someone down with an off-the-record comment.
Comentário sigiloso.
My off-the-record remarks were printed in the paper the next day. Off-the-record information.
Informação confidencial. Spot on.
How old do I reckon she is? I'd say 38. Spot on.
Spot on. Exatamente.
His imitation of his boss was spot on.
Foi perfeita.
Your prediction was spot on.
Sua previsão estava correta.
Your rendition of that was absolutely spot on.
Perfeita. Spot on.
Schools were told their exam information had to be spot on.
What he said was spot on.
Exato.
I thought it was a little slow, but the characterization was spot on.
The food in England might not always be so good, but the brew in the pubs are spot on every time.
Mas a cerveja nos bares é sempre ótima.
Your guess was spot on. Congratulations. I thought his analysis of the play was spot on. Daniel Larison is spot on in his description of why this happened.
É preciso em sua descrição do que aconteceu. Up in the air.
The fate of the power station is up in the air.
O destino da estação elétrica é incerto.
The fate of the power station is up in the air. I don't know what Sally plans to do. Things were sort of up in the air last time we talked.
Indefinidas. Up in the air.
Let's leave this question up in the air until next time.
Pendente. Questão pendente.
We have no idea which school she'll be attending in September. Everything is still up in the air.
Indefinido.
Will a strike take place? That's up in the air.
Incerto.
The proposal to build a golf course next to the airport is still up in the air.
Pendente indefinida.
After George had that cold, the trip to California was completely up in the air.
Indefinida.
The whole future of the project is still up in the air.
Incerto.
Our holiday plans are up in the air at the moment.
Incertos.
Right now, everything is sort of up in the air for me. I'm trying to decide where to live and whether to go to school or work.
Tiptoe around something.
Jonathan keeps tiptoeing around the problem. Jonathan keeps tiptoeing around the problem. Instead of confronting it. Jonathan keeps tiptoeing around the problem instead of confronting it.
Evitando tocar, falar do problema.
The boss just keeps tiptoeing around the fact that we need to hire more staff if we want to remain competitive.
Enrolando sobre.
The government should stop tiptoeing around the issue of healthcare.
Fazendo rodeios sobre a questão.
He admits he has never been one to tiptoe around controversial issues. Certainly, Sanders will bring all sorts of issues to the Democratic primaries that Clinton would prefer to tiptoe around or avoid altogether. They're always tiptoeing around the deal without really speaking about it.
Fazendo rodeio, tiptoeing.
CNN debate tiptoes around Planned Parenthood even after Hillary Clinton brings it up. Politicians rarely get the chance to speak comfortably. They're always tiptoeing around words, careful to make sure nothing they say will lead to their eventual political demise.
Futura morte política. Political demise.
She tiptoed around the issue and only gave bits of information.
Come clear. Come clean. Come clean.
The company has refused to come clean about its pollution record.
A empresa se recusou a abrir o jogo Come Clean sobre seu registro de poluição.
The company has refused to come clean about its pollution record.
Come clean.
I want you to come clean with me about your financial status. Sam will come clean with me. I know he will. I should probably come clean now and admit that I don't really know how to cook at all.
Abrir o jogo Come Clean.
I felt it was time to come clean and tell her what the doctor had told me. It's time for the Chancellor to come clean about the proposed tax rises. If you come clean about what happened, I will promise to keep it to myself. I thought it was time to come clean with everybody about what I'd been doing. The bad employee came clean and told his boss he had been stealing from the company. After admitting that he was an alcoholic, Benjamin began coming clean and admitting his past mistakes.
Come clean. Abrir o jogo.
The government should come clean about its plans. I want you to come clean with me once and for all.
Be caught off guard.
I was caught off guard, so it took me longer to respond.
Eu fui pego de surpresa, então eu demorei mais para responder.
I was caught off guard, so it took me longer to respond. Tom caught Anne off guard and frightened her. She caught me off guard, and my hesitation told her I was lying. The news caught her completely off guard. She didn't know what to say. He's used to being interviewed, and it seems that no question catches him off guard. One of the larger airlines caught the competition off guard yesterday by announcing a cut in fares. The strength of the storm caught many residents off guard. When they asked me to babysit, I was taken off guard and found myself agreeing to it. My boyfriend caught me off guard when he pulled out a ring and asked me to marry him. I was so surprised.
Me pegou de surpresa. Caught me off guard.
Our boss is always catching people off guard and asking them to work on weekends. I was caught off guard, and I definitely learned something new about Stephanie.
Hit the nail on the head.
You've spotted the flaw, Sally. You hit the nail on the head.
Você encontrou o defeito, Sally. Você acertou em cheio.
You've spotted the flaw, Sally. You hit the nail on the head. Bob doesn't say much, but every now and then he hits the nail right on the head.
Acerta na mosca.
Mike hit the nail on the head when he said most people can use a computer without knowing how it works. I think Mick hit the nail on the head when he said that what's lacking in this company is a feeling of confidence. I think David hit the nail on the head when he said that kids don't want to buy this product. Bernie hit the nail on the head when he said the team's problem is that the players don't have confidence in one another. You really hit the nail on the head when you said that Gina needs to stop worrying about making mistakes when she speaks English.
Acertou em cheio.
You hit the nail on the head. Good job.
Você acertou na mosca.
I must agree with you and say you hit the nail on the head here. She hits the nail on the head when she correctly identifies the absolute perfect accessories for her outfit. The government hits the nail on the head when it listens to the people.
Let off steam.
I'm sorry I yelled at you. I guess I needed to let off some steam.
Desculpe por ter gritado com você. Eu acho que eu precisava extravasar um pouco.
I'm sorry I yelled at you. I guess I needed to let off some steam.
Extravasar um pouco. Let off some steam.
She's not that mad. She's just letting off steam.
Desabafando.
Meetings give people the chance to let off steam if something has been bothering them for a long time. After a long journey, the kids need to run around a bit and let off steam.
Aliviar o estresse.
He lifts weights after work to let off steam.
Aliviar o estresse.
I'm going to let off some steam by going for a bike ride.
Dá uma relaxada.
After sitting quietly in class all morning, kids need time to let off steam in the playground before going back to class in the afternoon. It'd be good to have a punching bag somewhere in the office so we could let off steam whenever we get a bit angry or frustrated. After William's father died, he let off some steam by going for an 8-day camping trip in Squamish.
Dá uma espairada.
I've told her she can call me and talk anytime she wants to blow off steam.
Desabafar.
Joan's shouting did not mean she was angry at you. She was just blowing off steam. After spending the day on very exacting work, Tom blew off steam by going for a long run. Don't take it personally when he shouts like that. He's just blowing off steam. I called my boyfriend, and he let me blow off steam for an hour.
Eu liguei para meu namorado e ele me deixou desabafar por 1 hora.
I called my boyfriend, and he let me blow off steam for an hour.
Right off the bat. Logo de cara.
When he was learning to ride a bicycle, he fell on his head right off the bat.
Ele caiu de cabeça logo de cara.
I can't tell you how many right off the bat, but I can find out.
Eu não consigo te falar quantos imediatamente, mas eu posso descobrir.
I can't tell you how many right off the bat, but I can find out. They responded right off the bat.
Imediatamente.
Right off the bat, Zach and I had a connection. He was so adorable.
Logo de cara, right out the back.
My mom says she knew right off the bat that I was going to be a singer. Mark bought a used car for $200 and it broke down right off the bat.
Logo de cara.
I wish I had realized right off the bat that Tanya was a gossip. I never would have confided in her. Christy and Mark didn't get along right off the bat, but eventually they became good friends. I knew right off the bat that Maria and I would be best friends. She is very generous and kind.
Logo de cara.
Right off the bat, I want to thank the Minister of the Environment for his prompt response.
Resposta imediata. Prompt response.
I can say right off the bat that the Bloc Québécois will vote against this bill. I'll just say right off the bat that Facebook at my university is huge. On our homepage, you'll see right off the bat many of the promotions, events, or contests we are currently running.
Of late.
Have you seen Sally of late?
Ultimamente? Você viu série ultimamente?
We haven't had an opportunity to eat out of late.
Comer fora ultimamente.
She hasn't been feeling well of late. She's been very quiet of late. Is something wrong? We haven't spoken of late.
Nós não falamos recentemente.
The days have been getting warmer of late. I've been feeling better of late. Have you talked to him of late? I haven't slept well of late. I haven't seen my parents of late.
Ultimamente. Go overboard.
Look, Sally, let's have a nice party, but don't go overboard.
Mas, olha, Sally, vamos ter uma noite, ótima festa, mas não exagere.
Look, Sally, let's have a nice party, but don't go overboard.
Don't go overboard.
It doesn't need to be fancy. Okay, you can buy a big, comfortable car, but don't go overboard on price. I think I went overboard in decorating my house for Christmas.
Eu me empolguei.
It's okay to discuss business during dinner, but don't go overboard and hand out documents for your guests to read while they're eating. The car's makers seem to have gone overboard on design and sacrificed speed. You went completely overboard on her birthday and bought her a diamond ring. She really went overboard hiring the most expensive caterer. I think I went overboard cooking this dinner. There's enough to feed 12 people. Harry gave his son a sports car for his graduation present. Do you think he went a bit overboard?
Ele exagerou pouco?
I don't think there'll be more than 6 people eating, so I wouldn't go overboard with the food.
Hold a grudge. Guardar rancor.
He couldn't hold a grudge against his father.
Ele não conseguia guardar rancor de seu pai.
He couldn't hold a grudge against his father.
Hold a grudge.
Life's too short to hold a grudge. He is one of those guys who does not hold a grudge.
Guardar rancor.
She used to hold a grudge against me.
Guardar rancor.
Samantha is just so forgiving. I don't think she's ever held a grudge in her life. His grandfather was always one to hold a grudge.
Guardar rancor. Hold a grudge.
Peter holds a grudge against his coworker, who received the promotion that Peter was hoping for. Why do we hold grudges when they are in fact quite painful to maintain and often seem to work against what we really want? Why we hold grudges and how to let them go.
Por que nós guardamos rancor e como se livrar deles?
You need to stop holding a grudge against those people. Johnny has been holding a grudge against me since we were 12 because I embarrassed him in front of a girl he liked. She bears a grudge against the judge who sentenced her. She got the job I applied for, but I'm not one to bear a grudge.
Que guarda rancor.
He still bears a grudge against her because she refused to go out with him years ago. They held up my claim for months, but I won't bear a grudge against them.
It dawned on me.
I was about to pay for the shopping when it suddenly dawned on me that I'd left my wallet at home.
De repente me dei conta.
On the way home, it dawned on me that I had never returned your call, so when I got home, I called immediately. It dawned on him that she had betrayed him.
Ele se deu conta de que ela tinha traído ele.
It suddenly dawned on me what he had meant.
De repente me dei conta do que ele queria dizer.
It dawned on me that I had forgotten to pick up some milk. It was several months before the truth finally dawned on me. Around noon, it dawned on me that I had never eaten breakfast. Then it dawned on me that I was actually going to have the job. At last, it dawned on me that these obstacles were my life. It finally dawned on him that he was expected to call them.
Ele finalmente se deu conta.
It finally dawned on him that she'd been joking, and he was worried for no reason. Little by little, it dawned on Archie that his wife was not coming back. In particular, one day it dawned on me that we'd done a very good job of defining what we meant by quality. Realization of the danger soon dawned on us. The idea suddenly dawned on her.
De repente ela se deu conta da ideia.
The idea suddenly dawned on her. A possible motive for the crime dawned upon the detective.
Turn things around.
I have decided that I need to turn things around, and I should not delay.
Eu decidi que eu preciso mudar o curso das coisas e eu não deveria demorar.
I was known as the guy who could turn things around.
Virar o jogo.
It is possible to turn things around and be who you want to be.
Mudar o curso das coisas.
All of us, employers and citizens, must turn things around. In an effort to turn things around, the faculty has devised, and is deploying, a new strategy. We can turn things around quickly and nimbly, and the price points are important to that market.
Nimbly, agilmente.
Regarding the environment, obviously the conservatives are still trying to turn things around. The $400 million loan will help turn the Russian economy around. That's the moment when the game turned around, Miami coach Kevin Lowry said. The new management team turned the ailing company around in under 6 months.
In the nick of time. Na hora certa.
I got paid just in the nick of time. I'd just run out of money. The doctor arrived in the nick of time. The patient's life was saved.
In the nick of time.
I reached the airport in the very nick of time and made my flight. I arrived just in the nick of time to catch my bus. A man walking his dog saw her fall into the river and pulled her out just in the nick of time. We got there just in the nick of time. A minute later and she'd have left. The police arrived just in the nick of time.
Na hora H.
I got to the station just in the nick of time and jumped on the train just as it was leaving. The fire engines arrived in the nick of time. He finished writing his paper and slid it under the door just in the nick of time.
Off the top of my head.
The one thing that everyone can tell you off the top of their head is their name.
Falar de cabeça.
I can't tell you Maxine's phone number off the top of my head. I'll have to check. I don't know for sure, but off the top of my head, I'd say that renting a 2-bedroom apartment would cost about $1,000 a week. How much do you think this car would be worth on a trade? Well, right off the top of my head, I'd say about $1,000. What time does the morning train come in? Off the top of my head, I don't know. Off the top of my head, I could probably only name about 3 women artists.
Assim, de cabeça.
She recited the poem off the top of her head.
De cabeça.
I couldn't tell you what the final
Score was off the top of my head. What's the capital of Mauritania? I don't know off the top of my head, but I could go and look it up. I don't know the number off the top of my head.
Eu não sei o número de cabeça.
You are familiar enough with the data. Give us the information off the top of your head.
Throw cotton to the wind. Decidiu arriscar.
Jane, who is usually cautious, threw caution to the wind and went swimming in the ocean.
Jane, que costuma ser cuidadosa, decidiu arriscar e foi nadar no oceano. Brincou com a sorte.
I don't mind taking a little chance now and then, but I'm not the type of person who throws caution to the wind.
Brinca com a sorte.
You could always throw caution to the wind and have another glass of wine. I threw caution to the wind and bought the most expensive one. Should I throw caution to the wind and take the new job? Give yourself permission to fail. Throw caution to the wind and you'll experiment and grow. I just threw caution to the wind. I just wanted to throw punches, to knock him out. You may even throw caution to the wind and try one of our mystery trips. They're not so willing to just throw caution to the wind and adapt to whatever custom comes their way.
Correu risco.
The leader has apparently decided to throw caution to the wind and do away with the office of president.
For once.
He was glad that for once he had not listened.
Ele estava feliz que, pelo menos uma vez na vida, ele não tinha escutado.
Why can't you be nice to her for once?
Pelo menos uma vez, for once.
At least for once I can say, this is mine. You can't take it.
Pelo menos uma vez na vida eu posso dizer, isso é meu, você não pode tomar.
At least for once you should think about me. Well, maybe he could, just for once, prove her mother wrong. But for once, could you not think about a paycheck? So for once, could you please listen to me? Sometimes she wished she could just for once relax. And just for once, could you let me finish my sentence? For once, could you build me up instead of tear me down? For once, could you not just remember every little thing?
Beat around the bush. Para de enrolar.
Stop beating around the bush and answer my question. Stop beating around the bush. Get to the point. Quit beating around the bush and say what's on your mind.
Pare de rodeios.
He kept beating around the bush and not being straight with Brad. He kept beating around the bush. Then he finally asked me to marry him. I accepted right off the bat. I didn't say I'll think about it or anything. I've always beat around the bush when it comes to the things I care about, and that doesn't do anyone well. Great leaders don't beat around the bush when it comes to pressing issues. I don't feel like beating around the bush, Jana. I'm too old to be playing games.
Ficar de enrolação.
Let's stop beating about the bush and discuss this matter.
Fazer rodeios. Up to no good. Aprontando alguma coisa.
I could tell from the look on Tom's face that he was up to no good.
Está aprontando alguma coisa.
He certainly looked as if he was up to no good.
Aprontando algo. Up to no good.
There are 3 boys in the front yard. I don't know what they're doing, but I think they are up to no good.
Aprontando algo.
In movies or on television, a man who pulls out a cigar is up to no good. She thinks her husband has been up to no good because she found long blonde hairs on his jacket. I can always tell when young Bobby is up to no good. He can't look me in the eye. Jenny found some text messages in her husband's phone that made her suspect he was up to no good.
Ele estava aprontando alguma coisa.
The media suspected some government members had been up to no good because they had suddenly become rich. Jessica is up to no good. She is messaging more than one guy again. Carrying around those types of weapons, they've been up to no good. They've been up to no good, and with those 3, I'd say that's not a possibility, but a probability.
If push is coming to shove. Se a coisa apertar.
If push comes to shove, we can always sell the car.
Se a coisa apertar, nós podemos sempre vender o carro. If push comes to shove.
If push comes to shove, I can earn money by teaching guitar.
Se a coisa apertar.
If push comes to shove, we can move into a smaller house. If push comes to shove, I can help you move your furniture to your new house.
Se a coisa ficar difícil.
If push comes to shove, the government will impose quotas on imports.
If push comes to shove.
So naturally, if push comes to shove, I'm going to choose my hometown. When push came to shove, I always stood up for him. When push comes to shove, we agree on more than we disagree. John is lazy and doesn't like to work, but when push comes to shove, he always does well in his exams. Barossa says that when push comes to shove, the party usually agrees with its contributors. Cowards flee when push comes to shove. They do not deserve to serve with the brave.
Drive up the wall.
Stop whistling that tune. You're driving me up the wall.
Pare de assovir essa música, você está me deixando louco. Drive me up to the wall. My flatmate is driving up to the wall.
Philip, you're really driving me up the wall.
Deixando irritado.
My children always drive me up a wall when they are tired and in a bad mood. I quit my job because my boss drove me up a wall every time I went to work. He's driving my wife and I up the wall. All his talk about moving to California nearly drove me up the wall.
Me tirou do sério.
Working in front of a computer screen all day drives me up the wall. John's girlfriend keeps driving him up a wall because she always asks him questions when he gets home from the bar. Working in a factory would have driven me up the wall.
Where the rubber meets the road. É aqui que a coisa fica séria.
Now we have spelled out the main area of descent. This is where the rubber meets the road.
Agora que nós explicamos a principal área de divergência. É aqui que a coisa fica séria.
Now we have spelled out the main area of descent. This is where the rubber meets the road. The sales effort is where the rubber meets the road in every competitive business.
Parte complicada.
Now that we are done with the proposal, this is where the rubber meets the road.
É aí que o bicho pega.
An athlete can train all day, But the race is where the rubber meets the road, and they'll know how good they really are.
É onde o bicho pega.
This strategy sounds very promising, but it's the implementation of these ideas where the rubber meets the road. You have to stand by your spouse, not just in good times, but also through bad times. That's where the rubber hits the road.
É aí que a coisa fica séria.
David Cameron today warned his cabinet. This is where the rubber hits the road, as the government prepares itself to unveil swinging spending cuts within weeks.
Ele rings a bell?
I've never met John Franklin, but his name rings a bell.
Eu nunca conheci John Franklin, mas o nome dele não me é estranho. Rings a bell.
Whenever I see a bee, it rings a bell. I remember when I was stung by one.
Isso me recorda. Rings a bell.
Does the name Fitzpatrick ring a bell?
Soa familiar.
No, I'm sorry, that description doesn't ring any bells with me. Have you heard of the city Prince Rupert? Yeah, that rings a bell. Is that in British Columbia? Yes, that rings a bell. I seem to remember it. That name rings a bell. I think I've met him. That sort of rings a bell for me as well, James, but where I work, I don't control that decision. Now that you mention it, Lou, that sort of rings a bell. I read that book, but it was a while back.
Across the board.
The company has promised to increase salaries across the board, so everyone will get a pay rise.
Todos indistintamente.
The tax cuts will only apply to low and middle income families, so they won't be across the board.
Então eles não serão.
The school board raised the pay of all the teachers across the board. The company is proposing to cut spending right across the board. The cutbacks might be across the board.
Os cortes podem ser gerais.
The improvement has been across the board, with all divisions either increasing profits or reducing losses. Even as late as September, there are still course vacancies across the board, although the majority are in sciences. They recently made across-the-board changes to the benefits package.
Mudanças gerais.
The proposed across-the-board cuts for all state agency will total $84 million.
Cortes gerais.
They promised us an across-the-board tax cut. That is, one applying to all taxpayers regardless of income. The initiative has across-the-board support.
Under the weather.
I feel sort of under the weather today.
Eu estou me sentindo meio mal hoje. Under the weather.
Whatever I ate for lunch is making me feel a bit under the weather.
Enjoado.
Daddy's had a few beers and is under the weather again. Wally's just a tad under the weather.
Dad.
She said she was under the weather and couldn't make it to the meeting. After 4 drinks, Ellen was a bit under the weather. I didn't go to school today because I was feeling under the weather. I'm feeling a little under the weather. I think I may have caught a cold. It's hard to keep working when you're under the weather. I'm feeling a bit under the weather. I think I'm getting a cold.
Indisposto. By all means.
I will attempt to get there by all means.
Eu vou tentar chegar lá com certeza. By all means.
If you can find a use for this old computer, by all means keep it.
Certamente fique com ele.
By all means, you can say that's right.
Sem dúvidas.
I plan to make use of it by all means.
Com certeza.
By all means, I'll be there tonight. Losing the contract is to be avoided by all means.
Sem dúvidas.
Could I have a glass of water, please? By all means, I'll get it for you. May I borrow this book? By all means.
Com toda certeza.
Can you come to dinner tomorrow? By all means, I'd love to.
Sem dúvidas, eu adoraria. Knocks one's block off.
Wilbur almost knocked Tom's block off by accident. He threatened to knock my block off if I didn't do as I was told.
Quebrar a minha cara.
Say that again and I'll knock your block off.
Quebra sua cara.
I'll knock his block off if he tries anything with me. Leave my girlfriend alone or I'll knock your block off. Come on out here and I'll knock your block off.
Eu vou te arrebentar.
Yo, Derek, I swear I'm about to knock your block off. She's gonna knock his block off.
Ela vai arrebentar a cara dele.
Get out of my way or I'll knock your block off. Don't take your little brother to that blood and guts movie or I'll knock your block off.
Out of order. Com defeito.
I'm afraid we have to walk up the stairs. The elevator is out of order.
Está com defeito.
My stereo is out of order.
Out of order.
It looks like the coffee machine is out of order again.
Está com defeito.
The copy machine is out of order and won't be repaired until tomorrow. We tried in vain to reach you last night. Is your phone out of order? The elevator was out of order, so we had to walk to the 10th floor of the building. We couldn't use the soft drink machine because it was out of order.
Com defeito.
She noticed that the books on the shelf were out of order. All these cards were alphabetized, and now they're out of order.
Estão fora de ordem.
I dropped my manuscript, and now the pages are all out of order.
Desorganizadas.
I suppose my remarks about his wife were out of order.
Inadequados, né?
Her comments about the management were out of order.
Inadequados.
Terry's rude comments about your brother were out of order.
Desagradáveis. Over and over.
I read the article over and over till it made sense.
Várias vezes.
The little girl demanded over and over to be picked up so she could see the performers on stage.
Repetidamente.
The children loved the slide, and they went on it over and over until it got dark outside. The actress studied her lines in the movie over and over until she knew them well. Children have difficulty remembering rules, so it's often necessary to repeat them over and over again.
Várias vezes repetir.
The unknown word turned up over and over again in the text. I don't want him back, and I've told him that over and over again. He keeps saying that over and over again, and nobody believes him. I kept asking him over and over who it was he liked better than me.
All ears.
Well, hurry up and tell me. I'm all ears.
Anda logo e me conta. Sou todo ouvidos.
Tell me who else was invited. I'm all ears.
Sou todo ouvidos.
Tell your story. We're all ears.
Somos todos ouvidos.
I'm all ears, waiting to hear your latest excuse for not getting this job done. I'm all ears. Tell us what they had to say. Are you listening to me? Yes, I'm all ears. The audience were all ears when the teams crooned ditties from the golden 80s. Do you want to know why I broke up with my girlfriend? Yeah, I'm all ears. Tell me. I have something to tell you. Okay, I'm all ears. What is it? I have some great news for you guys. Really? We're all ears. What's your news?
All along. Desde o começo.
Do you think he's been cheating us all along?
Você acha que ele está nos enganando desde o começo?
I knew all along that it wasn't his real name.
Desde o princípio.
That now appears not to be the case, and some State Department officials say they knew that all along. It's just a vitamin deficiency, and I bet they knew that all along. She's been talking to him all along. We've been planning that all along. I've been here all along, the Undertaker giggled.
Eu estava aqui o tempo todo.
I've been trying to get in touch with you all along.
Tempo todo.
They knew the truth all along.
Eles sabiam da verdade o tempo todo.
I've lived here all along.
All in all. Considerando tudo,
All in all, it was a very good party.
foi uma festa muito boa. Considerando tudo.
All in all, I'm glad that I visited New York City. All in all, the criticism seemed fair.
Apesar de tudo.
All in all, I think we can say the visit was a success.
Considerando tudo, eu acho que podemos dizer que a visita foi um sucesso.
All in all, it was an especially bad year for farmers who were hit by low prices and bad weather. But all in all, it's an inspiring new way of looking at Canada's original sacred spaces.
Considerando tudo.
All in all, you're just another brick in the wall.
Juntando tudo, você é só mais um na multidão.
All in all, it's not a bad restaurant. All in all, it summed up to 100 euros, including tips. All in all, he was happy he had come, and I was happy that we could enjoy that time.
Contudo. A square peg in a round hole.
I'm terrible at math. Trying to teach me trigonometry would be like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Tentar colocar um pino quadrado num buraco redondo.
I always felt like a square peg in a round hole in gym class because I was never very athletic.
Peixe fora d'água.
Many geniuses have poor people skills and are like square pegs in a round hole in social situations.
São como peixes fora d'água.
Marcio loves to run around outdoors and play soccer. It would be like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole to make him sit inside and read books all day. My grandma loved being home, spending time in the kitchen and gardening. Trying to convince her to get out and travel was like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. I play the piano well, but I'm a fish out of water when I try to play the organ.
Peixe fora d'água.
A Brazilian trying to drive on ice-covered roads during a winter storm is a real fish out of water. As a pale-skinned North American, I felt like a fish out of water amongst all those well-tanned Brazilians on the beach.
Peixe fora d'água.
He may be a high-powered attorney, but he would be a real fish out of water if he had to spend a day teaching first graders. When you travel to a foreign country, the sensation of feeling like a fish out of water is an opportunity for growth and adventure.
Make the most of it.
We're only in Paris for a day, so let's make the most of it.
Aproveitar isso ao máximo.
Mary knows how to make the most of her talents. They designed the advertisements to make the most of the product's features.
Aproveitar ao máximo as características do produto.
She planned to make the most of her trip to Europe. The class quickly made the most of the teacher's absence. Make the most of the good weather because rain is forecast for tomorrow.
Aproveite bem o clima.
There will be a lot of traveling involved in my new job, and I plan to make the most of it.
Aproveitar ao máximo.
We made the most of our vacation by leaving our phones and computers turned off. How to make the most of LinkedIn.
Como aproveitar o LinkedIn ao máximo?
I just want to make the most of my life.
Eu quero aproveitar a minha vida ao máximo. For the time being, por enquanto,
For the time being, Janet is working as a waitress, but she really hopes to become an actress soon.
por enquanto.
We're living in an apartment for the time being, but soon we'll be looking for a house to buy.
Nesse presente momento,
A meeting of Skipton Rural Council decided to cease offering council houses for the time being.
the union voted not to strike for the time being.
The union voted not to strike for the time being.
O sindicato votou por não fazer a greve por enquanto.
This is probably about as good a deal as we're going to get, at least for the time being.
Por enquanto. We've
decided to do without a car for the time being. My car is being repaired, so for the time being, I'll have to use the bus. You can stay with us for the time being. He agreed to continue for the time being until a new secretary was appointed. That's all the news there is, for now.
Essas são de todas as notícias que existem, por enquanto, for now.
The situation seems to be peaceful, for now at least.
For now at least. Por agora, pelo menos.
I don't want to do that for now.
Por enquanto.
I'm not studying German for now.
To be about you. To be about the concert.
The concert is about to begin.
O concerto está prestes a começar. Is about.
The ceremony was about to begin.
Was about to begin.
Oh, hi, John. We're just about to eat dinner.
Prestes.
As the elevator doors were about to close, someone pushed the open button outside. I was just about to leave when you telephoned. I feel like I'm about to go crazy.
Eu sinto como se eu estivesse a ponto de ficar louco.
They're about to get home. Pietro, let's go. The party is about to start. I can't stand this anymore. I'm about to explode. At every step, she seems to be about to stumble and fall.
Look on the bright side. Olhe para o lado bom.
Look on the bright side. Things could have been much worse than they are. Look on the bright side. The accident insurance might pay for a new car.
Look on the bright side.
On the bright side, the car you wrecked was covered by insurance. Always look on the bright side of life. Look on the bright side. You'll save money by not going. I know your boyfriend ended your relationship, but look on the bright side. You'll find a new boyfriend soon. On the bright side, I was able to cut costs by 35%. He was always the one who looked on the bright side, the optimistic one. With so many good things happening, it is so difficult not to look on the bright side, isn't it? If you look on the bright side, you try to see things in an optimistic way, especially when something has gone wrong. I lost all my money and I couldn't afford a new house, but on the bright side, I started all over again.
On the other hand,
On the one hand, I'd like more money, but on the other hand, I'm not prepared to work the extra hours in order to get it. I love the freedom of working freelance. On the other hand, I crave the financial security of a full-time job. On the one hand, I love the freedom of working freelance. On the other hand, I crave the financial security of a full-time job. On the one hand, you complain that you're lonely, and on the other hand, you won't come to parties with me. On the one hand, I'd like a job that pays more, but on the other hand, I enjoy the work I'm doing at the moment. On one hand, I really ought to support my team. On the other hand, I don't have the time to attend all the games. On the one hand, I really could use Anne's help. On the other hand, she and I don't get along very well. On the one hand, this car is expensive. On the other hand, it's available, and we need it right now. On the one hand, smokers should have the right to smoke if they want to. But on the other hand, non-smokers should have the right to breathe smoke-free air. On the one hand, I love the freedom of being single. But on the other hand, the idea of being married and having a family is very attractive. On the one hand, playing computer games can be a lot of fun. But on the other hand, it's easy to waste too much time on them. On one hand, I'd like to go out tonight. But on the other hand, I need to be at work very early tomorrow.
level playing field.
We're all in the same level playing field.
Nós estamos todos no mesmo patamar de igualdade.
We're all in the same level playing field. If we started off with a level playing field, everyone would have an equal chance.
Se nós começássemos com o mesmo patamar de igualdade, todos teriam uma chance igual.
He called for a level playing field and said politicians should take action or risk seeing the high street shrink further.
Ele pediu por um patamar de igualdade.
It's no level playing field if you always get to pick first.
Não é nível de igualdade se você sempre conseguir escolher primeiro.
Trying to maintain or improve a level playing field can inspire more free market measures.
Nível de igualdade.
Our philosophy is that we have no problem competing with the mutual savings banks if they start from the level playing field.
Patamar de igualdade.
You should always try to offer a level playing field at your workplace so everyone has a fair chance. It was a level playing field, and everything was going good, and people were arguing about what was going on.
Patamar de igualdade.
Government regulatory agencies were in place to prevent malfeasance and maintain a level playing field for all companies.
Malfeasance mantém para prevenir a conduta ilegal e manter. In a way. De certo modo,
In a way, you're right.
você está certo.
I like the new styles, in a way.
De uma maneira.
I suppose, in a way, I was more of a sister to you than Joan was. I think that's sad, in a way.
Eu acho isso triste, de certo modo.
You're right, in a way, but we have to consider the price. In a way, I hope he doesn't win. In a way, I could never imagine the way you make me feel. In a way, they are part of our identity. They are like us, in a way. In a way, she's giving up on herself.
De certo modo, ela está desistindo de si mesma. Down the road.
This is a wonderful invention, but a marketable product is several years down the road yet.
Está muito nos anos no futuro.
We may at some point buy a house, but that's down the road.
Mas isso é futuramente.
I was asked to gather statistical data that could be useful down the road.
Futuramente.
Why worry about something that's 10 years down the road?
10 anos no futuro?
Economists see higher interest rates down the road. You never know. We might meet again down the road. It may happen down the road, but not anytime soon. It may happen down the road, but we're currently far from that point. I believe that somewhere down the road we will see each other again.
No futuro.
Down the road, I know I'll feel sorry.
Rub it in.
I know I made a mistake, but you don't have to rub it in.
Mas você não tem que jogar na cara.
He feels bad about it, so don't rub it in. I wanted to rub it in a bit, so I said, I'll be thinking of you working as I lie on the beach this afternoon. He keeps rubbing it in that I wouldn't have gotten the job without his influence. I know you have money. Stop rubbing it in my face. Whenever he's right, he likes to gloat. He always rubs it in.
Vangloriar, gloat.
I don't feel like rubbing it in. I don't think it's funny. He loves rubbing it in. She keeps on rubbing it in on how much she cares about me. They don't just beat you, they rub it in.
Keep at bay. Mantenha os monstros longe.
Keep the monsters at bay. If we can keep the rabbits at bay, we should have a good crop of vegetables in the garden. For me, overeating is a way of keeping my feelings at bay.
Distantes.
She fought to keep her unhappiness at bay. The unhelpful thoughts keep coming, and I want to keep them at bay.
Mantê-los longe.
In the garden, there's no security system to keep the rabbits at bay. Experts hope the economy will slow enough to keep inflation at bay. Keep the zombies at bay.
Mantenha os zumbis longe.
Freezing temperatures keep the insects at bay. If you keep someone or something at bay, you maintain a safe distance from them. He held the police at bay with a gun for several hours.
Put up a fight. Reagiu.
She put up a fight when the mugger tried to steal her purse.
Ela reagiu quando o assaltante tentou roubar a bolsa dela.
She put up a fight when the mugger tried to steal her purse. The guy put up a fight and they shot him.
Reagiu. Put up a fight.
The guy put up a fight before I finally got the cuffs on.
Cuffs on. Algemas nele.
Their youngest son always put up a fight when it was bedtime. Did Poland put up a fight against Germans' invasion in 1939?
Ofereceu resistência.
He put up a fight when the police tried to arrest him. We need to put up a fight against the rail companies and the government for safety. Of course, they put up a fight when the Martians invaded, but they're a people of thought, not of action. We are the good guys who put up a fight against crime, to take down the bad guys. I am often asked if they put up a fight when I take notes on their behavior.
Miss the point.
What you say is true, but you've missed the point of my argument.
Mas você não entendeu o ponto do meu argumento.
I think you've missed the point. It's not the money that's the problem. Do you know what I mean, or are you missing my point?
Ou você entendeu errado?
I think you missed the point, so let me explain what I meant.
Deixa eu explicar o que eu quis dizer. What I meant.
Did you miss the point of what I was saying? Did you miss the point of what I posted there?
Você não conseguiu entender?
I think he missed the point of what it means to have courage. Chris missed the point of Gwen's complaint, thinking she was opposed to the date of the next meeting. You keep explaining, and I keep missing the point.
Eu continuo não entendendo.
I'm afraid you missed the point. Let me explain it again.
Do the trick.
If the sauce tastes a bit sour, add a teaspoon of sugar. That should do the trick.
Isso deve resolver.
Do you think it will do the trick?
Você acha que isso vai servir?
Next time you have a headache, take some ibuprofen. That will do the trick.
Isso vai resolver.
Does this little tool do the trick? This new paint scraper really does the trick.
Funciona?
Is this envelope large enough to do the trick? I need something to put these papers in. This folder should do the trick.
Essa pasta deve servir.
This sauce needs more flavor. I know some lemon juice should do the trick.
Deve resolver.
I think this old car will do the trick.
Vai servir.
I have just $20 in my pocket, but it will do the trick.
out of someone's league. Se ela é muito areia para o meu caminhão,
If she's out of my league, it means I have few chances with her. Do you think that girl is out of my league?
ela é demais para mim?
Come on, you know she's out of your league, dude. She's way out of my league.
Ela é demais para mim.
I don't think she's out of my league. I'm not that bad.
Eu não sou tão mal.
Go talk to her, buddy. I don't think she's out of your league as you may think. You're awesome, girl. I don't think that guy is out of your league. She was the most beautiful girl in school, and I knew she was out of my league. I think an expensive car is a little out of your league right now, don't you? I wanted to hit on her, but then I thought, she's out of my league.
Go surf.
His golf game is going south.
O jogo de golfe dele está indo para o prédio. Going south.
Ralph was on a business trip to New York when his laptop computer went south.
Foi pro pau.
The market went south today at the opening bell.
Foi pro brejo.
When oil prices went south, it caused problems right across the economy. You need to stop spending so much money or things will go south.
Ou as coisas vão ficar feias.
When they closed shop last year, things went south around here. After he had a falling out with his family members, everything went south. It didn't go south because of him.
Isso não foi pro brejo por causa dele.
The project proceeded well for the first 2 months, but then it headed south. I think everything headed south when they started trying to make people reliant on the system.
At large. A solta.
The fugitive was still at large. There is a murderer at large in the city.
Há assassino à solta na cidade.
Police arrested one man, but the other suspects in the robbery are still at large.
Está solta.
One thief was caught and 2 are still at large.
Ainda está à solta.
The suspect is still at large.
Ainda está à solta.
Truck drivers at large don't like the new speed restriction on the highway. Students at large felt that discipline was too strict.
Os alunos em geral sentiram que a disciplina era rígida demais.
The public at large doesn't take the problem seriously.
O público em geral não leva o problema a sério.
She represented shareholders at large on the governing board.
Em geral, at large.
The teachers at large are unhappy with the administration and the school board.
In a nutshell. Em poucas palavras.
She put the matter in a nutshell.
Em poucas palavras.
Just give me the facts in a nutshell. Please tell me the story in a nutshell. He explained the situation in a nutshell. In a nutshell, James Buchanan was a horrible president.
Em resumo.
Here's our proposal. In a nutshell, we want to sell the business to you. Well, to put it in a nutshell, we're going to have to start again. The answer, in a nutshell, is no. In a nutshell, the problem was caused by a faulty wire. That's, in a nutshell, what we're going to do.
Em resumo.
Jane always seems to be in a fog.
A Jane parece estar sempre aérea. Be in a fog.
When I get up, I'm in a fog for an hour.
O desatento.
I was in a fog for several days after my son's accident.
Eu fiquei aéreo por muitos dias depois do acidente do meu filho.
After he heard the bad news, he was in a fog for a moment. He was so tired he was walking around in a fog.
Meio distraído.
I felt more in a fog yesterday, but today was not bad.
Meio aéreo.
Some days I just feel like I'm in a fog. I've seen a number of engaged couples walking around as though they were in a fog.
Aéreos.
I'm completely in a fog with these calculations. He seemed to be in a fog. Everything about him was uncertain and unclear.
Aéreo. In a fog. Be in a fog. Stone's throw.
The apartment is just a stone's throw from the sea.
O apartamento é bem pertinho do mar. Just a stone's throw.
John saw Mary across the street, just a stone's throw away. Philadelphia is just a stone's throw away from Camden, New Jersey.
Bem pertinho.
Their house is just a stone's throw from ours. The police department is just a stone's throw from the neighborhood park.
Bem pertinho.
They live just a stone's throw from Mike's house. My house is just a stone's throw away from the park.
Bem pertinho do parque.
We live in Carbondale, and that's just a stone's throw away from the Mississippi River.
É bem pertinho.
Come visit. We live just a stone's throw away. We live very close to the mall. It's just a stone's throw away.
Wing it. Eu tive que improvisar.
I lost my lecture notes, so I had to wing it.
Então eu tive que improvisar. I had to wing it.
Don't worry, just go out there and wing it.
Não se preocupe, apenas vá lá fora e improvise.
I hadn't had time to prepare the talk, so I just had to wing it.
Tive que improvisar.
I didn't have time to write a speech, so I just had to wing it in front of a large audience.
Tive de improvisar.
Some actors can wing it. Others go completely silent when something happens on stage that isn't supposed to happen.
Alguns atores conseguem improvisar.
Believe in yourself, and if something goes wrong, just wing it.
Basta improvisar.
Procrastinate now and wing it later.
E improvise depois.
I don't know their system, but I think I can wing it.
Mas eu acho que posso me virar.
I didn't study for today's test, so I'll have to wing it.
Eu vou ter que improvisar.
She didn't spend much time getting ready for the meeting. She just kind of winged it.
O que significa for good?
I finally left home for good.
Permanentemente. For good.
They tried to repair it many times before they fixed it for good.
Permanentemente.
I'm moving to Europe for good. I'm leaving for good this time. Now she says she's leaving him for good.
Deixando ele permanentemente.
The experience almost frightened me away for good.
Para sempre.
We're back for good this time.
Nós estamos de volta para sempre desta vez.
We're back for good this time. I'll quit drinking for good.
For
They've
good.
broken up for good this time. bad haircut is no fun, but at least you're not stuck with it for good, only until it grows out.
Ask after.
Hermione asked after you when I saw her today.
Hermione perguntou de você.
I asked after Molly and her family.
Eu perguntei pela Molly e sua família.
He asked after his old friend. Tell your father I was asking after him. He asked after my wife's health. I met Bob and he asked after you.
Eu encontrei Bob e ele perguntou de você.
Jenny rang earlier and asked after you, so I told her you were fine. Whenever I meet Rajiv, he asks after you and Sonia, and I tell him you're both doing well. Sandra got an email from her mother, and she asked after you. I didn't realize you knew her mother. Mr. Trump asked after Hillary's mother. He greeted us warmly and asked after our families.
Ele nos cumprimentou calorosamente e perguntou pelas nossas famílias.
He greeted us warmly and asked after our families.
Over here.
Be careful, someone might overhear.
Alguém pode ouvir.
They were afraid people would overhear them. I couldn't help overhearing your conversation. I overheard him saying he was thinking of leaving his job. I accidentally overheard what they were saying. They could have overheard what we said. I overheard two doctors discussing my case. We overheard the conversation at the next table.
Nós ouvimos a conversa da mesa ao lado.
She was overheard complaining.
Ouviram ela reclamando.
He overheard two people talking in the next room. They were overheard discussing the project. She overheard a rumor about you.
Ela ouviu boato sobre você. Had better.
You'd better tell her everything.
Melhor contar tudo para ela.
I'd better get back to work.
Melhor volta ao trabalho.
The Democratic movement had better concentrate on the immediate issues of the economy and security. We'd better meet early.
É melhor encontrarmos cedo.
It's 5 o'clock. I'd better go now before the traffic gets too bad. She'd better get here soon or she'll miss the opening ceremony. You'd better not say anything.
Melhor você não dizer nada.
I'd better not come.
Melhor não ir.
We'd better not miss the start of his presentation. You'd better not tell Elizabeth about the broken glass. She'll go crazy. Hadn't we better ring the school and tell them Liam is sick? Hadn't you better switch your computer off?
Não é melhor você desligar o seu computador? At once.
I fell asleep at once.
De uma vez.
Yes, let's do that at once. We must leave at once. Everything happened at once, so I didn't have time to ask for advice. You must come here at once. It is an emergency. Leave the room at once.
Imediatamente.
They were told to leave the building at once. The view of the skyline is at once awesome, grand, and disappointing. Computers that can do many things at once. Everything happened at once.
Over the moon.
She was over the moon with her new bike.
Muito feliz over the moon.
I got my exam result this morning. You know, I'm simply over the moon about it. Vincent is over the moon these days. He just bought a new house. Congratulations, I'm so happy for you. You must be over the moon.
Você deve estar muito contente.
He is over the moon about being accepted to the university. I am over the moon at this moment. When he sent me flowers and a note, I was over the moon.
Muito feliz.
He was over the moon. I've never seen him smile so much. He felt over the moon about the entire thing, and his mother certainly noticed. She is over the moon with her Elsa dress, and I think she will be wearing it and singing her favorite songs for a long time.
Olá, Sandra.